I'll try to cover lots of information. I'll make it as short and simple as possible, because what has gone on in the past 25 years is so much. There's no way I can do justice, but I still have to let you know what all happened. You can see her here. She's pre-creative. What I mean by pre-creative, before the creation started, she was the only one which existed. Pure consciousness who wanted to manifest so that we can have a chance to perform. She gives a stage, and she gives the actor, she gives the act, and we are the actors. We perform. Next slide, please. This is my most favorite slide. Here, she, when I say she, you can call her 1,000 names, but she's pre-creative, pure consciousness. She decides the creation should start and life forms too should perform, so that they can evolve and come back to us, come back to her. So she's pre-creative, and this is creative, Siva Shakti. So there's a very simple way of representing Siva Shakti, the origin, and she is a creator, pre-creative form, which is a pure consciousness. That's all exists in us. Nothing but that exists. The pure consciousness and the Prakriti and Purusha, and there they are. So the Shiva Shakti and then pre-creative. Very simple concept. Our concept of creation is very simple. It's a consciousness which manifests, and the Prakriti is there and the Purusha is here. And what do you call it? You know, all the mantras, so many mantras. That's a very simple mantra. That's a mantra. Karu Mari. Om is a pranava, the vibration which started the creation itself. Ka is represent the bija for Brahma and Saraswati. Ru is a bija, here is referred to as Rudra and Rudrini. Ma is Mahalakshmi and Mahavishnu. Ri is the most important. Tirumurtis are there already. This is the ring arm. The ring bija, I say ring arm, the vibration, the pure divine vibration which manifests as matter. So energy has become matter. That is Siva Shakti. So ring arm, ring bija, Karumari. So Om Karumari becomes mantra, and it keeps on inside your body. Once you start thinking this way, you know what the creation is, what is the creative principle, and what is the created being. That's me, you, all of us. So that's a very simple form of explaining who we are, where we came from. What's the aim is, we want to go back. We want to evolve to higher life form, not just human, to Devas. And keep going up and up until you reach that state of enlightenment, that state of release, that state of purity of consciousness. So that's, in a nutshell, is what our aim is. The self is there, realization. She comes down to this level, Shiva Shakti, and then goes back to it. So it's a very, very simple form. Next slide, please. Okay, the first, in about 2 or 3 months, you'll see her as this. There'll be a magnificent mandapam behind. We are just starting now. She'll be about 7 feet, much, much bigger than what she was before. And all this Kartikeya and Ganesha, all will be proportionately bigger, and it'll be beautiful. The way she has planned. In this temple, anything happens, designed by her. Just trust me, because we are not that wise to think of it that deeply symbolic as she tells us, and the way we do it is the way she wants us to perceive her. So this is what you will see first. Hopefully this will be done within 2-3 months. It's a very, very detailed thing. It doesn't look ornate now, but once it's made, it looks most beautiful, and it will evoke that aspect of her in us. So you see Mother, and you see Kartikeya and Ganesha. Like I said, this does not do justice, but at least gives an idea how she's going to be there. Shiva Shakti and Kartikeya and Ganesha, and those will be very, very ornate. Next slide, next slide. About 20 years, she saw us grow, and many, many miraculous things have happened during the time. Some of you who were involved from the beginning have seen that. This is very mystical, very symbolic. Then she gave us the magnificent Gopuram, Raja Gopuram, with more than 500 aspects of her in a very detailed fashion with Prana Pratishta, Mantra, Tantra, Niyantra. Everything is given to us and we just installed it. And the result would be, she in you, in us, will wake up. And when she wakes up, you go to higher state of existence. Kundalini wakes up, goes up to Sahasrara. Then you know reality is not what you see. What really is there? The reality is not something you see. That's nominal. This is phenomenal. You, me, space, everything is phenomenal. Not illusion. It's not illusion. There's no illusion really, because we all do exist, but in a form which is not real. In other words, the reality is much, much deeper, much, much profound, much alive than we. So when our mind wakes up, we are dead. When our consciousness wakes up, we are alive. And that world, you call it Devaloka, you call it a nominal world, but that is not sense-based. That's super sensuous. To get to that stage, you have to go into Turiya, not sleeping, waking, sleepless dream. That's what we are. We exist in those three states. That's all we know. But the real state is Turiya. Turiya state where you really know what is reality is. I just try to put some information to understand the concept, what she is giving us, what we are trying to create. Mainly, the main aspect of her is Ganesha, Kartikeya, and Shakti aspect would be the primary. Then we have many, many aspects of her. You can see all the new Sannidhanams, and the ones we were there before would be more magnified, more expanded. And each one is very, very symbolic, deeply metaphysical, deeply allegoric. And the result is what we see. But the reality is only one. One becomes trillion. She was all alone and she became trillion forms, and we relate to her. You can see all the Sannidhanam. And the Hanuman she has given us this time is very unique Hanuman. Panchamukha Hanuman. All the 5 important aspects are there in that form. Main would be, of course, Hanuman form. All the other aspects would be there. So that, for some reason, she wanted that form to represent Hanuman. Next, after the next Pralaya, when a new Manu comes, that is next Pralaya, and that Manu would be Hanumanji. Hanumanji would become the first Manu in that time, in that Kalpa. Mother Meenakshi, Lord Kala Bhairava, we had it, but we'll have it in a more magnificent form. Kala Bhairava is a very important, most effective aspect of Shiva, because he starts the whole cycle. Hayagriva aspect is very important. In that side, he is there, and Hayagriva is wisdom aspect. He is one of the avatars, the wisdom aspect of Hayagriva. And this is again deeply symbolic. Why a horse? Why can't a human, highly evolved human? But the horse, the mythology is different, but a horse represents a mind. Atman is represented by the soul. So Atman and Hayagriva is mind. So the highest form of mind, symbolism, is a horse, symbolically. So they place the horse head when this head is cut off. Again, the mythology is very meaningful if we go to the depth of it. Otherwise, it looks superfluous. It doesn't make any sense. But he is represented with the head of a horse. There's the highest aspect of the mind represented as a horse. Devi Annapurni, Saptamatrukas are very important. Mother wanted them because the world is going to go through many crises, and Saptamatruka aspect of mother would be very protective. And all the 7 aspects would be represented as a Vigraha. Vigrahas are very important because they give you an idea what it is. Otherwise, an abstract form to think and get closer, it will be difficult. Pure abstract form. So we give them a name and a form and a mantra and proper yantra and all the rituals. They make them real. Nagadevatas, she wanted one very unique aspect, a Nagaraja, Nagarani, and a baby. What they represent is Kundalini. Highest form, a Nagadevata energy would be 1,000,000 times ours, our pranic energy. But it's the same thing, but much more intense. And that intensity, you go into Turiya and then you see what is real and what is what we see. Our senses are very rudimentary, very primitive. All the senses, 5 senses we have, it's very primitive. Only when you go to the higher form, higher senses, you see what they are. Nagadevatas represent Kundalini aspects, so many of them, millions of them. And once it wakes up, you see reality, gnosis. K-N-O-S-I-S. Gnosis. Gnosis means real. It's a Greek word. Gnosis. So gnosis becomes visible when your Kundalini awakens, then your perception becomes higher. This is very rudimentary, what I see with my eye, here, all the very rudimentary. I can only see a very gross, but the fine, subtle aspect I have to develop the higher forms of senses. We call it supersensuous or higher form of perception. Much better than our vision, our hearing, our touch. Those are all very crude form. But as we wake up our Kundalini, we see the real reality is much profound, much deeper. Agastya, we're going to give special importance. He's there. I'm looking at him right there next to Lopamutra. What a beautiful representation of Agastya. Agastya is a Jnana Guru. He's not human. His mother was Devata. Urvasi was his mother. Apsara as his son. But they come, Saptarishis themselves, they come as human so that we can relate to them. If they have now been human, we cannot know them. So they come in the human form. The first 7 of them, we say Brahma's mind-born son. The first 7, Saptarishi, mind-born son. So it's not, it's meaningful. Intense mind, thought becomes a form, and that is one Saptarishi. And Agastya and Vasishta, they were brothers. And you can see both of them are there, very highly evolved Saptarishis. And Agastya is particularly very connected to this temple. Many Siddhas in India, when I meet them, they tell me, Agastya is very actively present here. And many of you probably are his devotee. Why I say that? Because long ago, about 50 years ago, I went to seance. At that time, that person through whom Agastya talked, he said, "You are my devotee. Now you're back again." That means most of you probably were his devotees. Agastya's devotee. Lopamutra is very unique. She's a Maharishi. By her right, she's a Maharishi, not because of his wife. And how she created the mythology is nobody would give the daughter to Agastya because he was not a very good-looking man. That's mythology. Stupid, but it's a story. So Agastya wanted somebody of his caliber, so intensely thought from his mind, from the third eye, from that she came. So she must be very unique because the best of Agastya would be Lopamutra, just like the best of Shiva Bhagavan would be Kartikeya. Because he came for one purpose, the intensity would be the highest in Kartikeya. To slay that evil, that particular evil, he came to slay. And that came from his mind. And Lopamutra came like that from Agastya. In this temple, both are very actively present. So you learn about them. because you most likely would be connected to them. Nataraja aspect, Devi Pratyankara. Pratyankara again is a very unique form. Some of you know the most intense aspect of Mother who controlled Narasimha. Narasimha was very powerful and he destroyed the evil, but he consumed the blood of that evil. So that effect was in him, and he was not under control, and the earth cannot survive. So all the gods came and tried to appease, but they couldn't. Again, it's very logical. When you consume that much evil, that will have an effect, and that had an effect on Narasimha. So Pratyankara, Mother came as Pratyankara Devi, engulfed him, along with Sulani Durga. Sulani Durga is another form. Both of them showed Narasimha, you are Vishnu, you are a sustainer. You cannot do that. You're supposed to sustain the world. You're a maintainer. Once that thought process went to them through Pratyankara, he calmed down. And then he realized he is a protector, not a destroyer. But I'm just showing the logic behind why he would be. Because he's an avatar. Okay, so that form would be there. It's a very, I don't want to say gruesome. It's not gruesome. It's very descriptive. So it appears to be like Mahakali. She's the kindest, but she appears to be the most ruthless. But that is symbolic. Deep inside, she is the kindest deity of all. But she appears to be that way because her job is to carry us to next level of travel after death. So she appears to be, and she sits in cremation ground. So she cannot be nice looking. She has to be that form. But she points out what is our journey is, which level we are going to go next. And the ultimate is that we are going to move on to higher form. That means this form has to go. And then we get cremated. At that time, you go through many, many suffering. I'm talking about after death. It's a very horrible state of existence. How can you have a horrible state of existence when you don't even have a nervous system, when you don't even have brain? How can you perceive it? The fact is that perception is more horrible than anything you can feel with the mind, body, brain, and nervous system. You had pain. That will be most painful because it's pain of that soul. That's very intense, very deep. And that level she comes. She points out to you, this is reality, accept it and move on to next level. This is again a transient. Once you get another body, you move on to that level. So all the truth she gives, so she has to be like that. She has to look like that. And each head she wears is a mind of an asura. So they represented by the head. She even wants to have a temple tank. That's going to be very, very difficult to build the way she wants it. Because there is a deity, her name is Ambuja. Ambuja is a deity connected to water. And she does a lot in our evolution. And she stays in water, so a temple tank energized by Ambuja will bless you, bless us. So as you come, we will see her, we will feel her. And she does many, many functions. She represents water. We have to figure out some way of putting her in the water, in the temple tank, the way she wants it, very unique. And hopefully we will do that. Dwajastambham is Kundalini. You have seen that, and we are preparing it. And once you see it, again, Hinduism is very symbolic. As I am driving, I look at the Dwajastambham, the flag post. Immediately, I think of Kundalini, my Kundalini. So I wake it up. I say my mantra, whatever way I have to wake up the Kundalini, I do them as I'm driving in to the temple. So I'm prepared. Just like you go to the restaurant, you're prepared to eat, your enzymes are ready, so when you go and eat, digestion starts. Something like that. Dwajastambham is something like that, to wake up the Kundalini, to remind us that is what we are, not the mind, body, intellect. That is Dwajastambham. Bali Pidam comes with that. The Bali sacrifice is giving myself. I sacrifice my denser aspect of me to wake up my finer divine aspect of me. That is Bali. I give myself as Bali. But people misunderstood. The kings gave animals as Bali or somebody else as Bali. The Bali is you as my dense aspect, which is what keeping me in this plane of consciousness. I am blinded at the time of birth. I only see this illusory aspect, not the real, my soul aspect, the Purusha aspect. So I sacrifice that and wake up higher aspect. So as I'm coming in, I come in with my soul active, not with my mind, body, intellect, which is not divine, which is something given to me to use and go up, go to higher level of consciousness, higher level of consciousness. Simha is used because among the beasts, we came from beasts, we are beastly. Our nature is beastly. But we go higher level of consciousness and we realize we are not that. So symbolically, lion is used. The highest form of animal is lion. So she rides a lion. She doesn't need the lion to ride. There's again a symbolism. The most mightiest of animal, we. As a vehicle, we go to higher level. So again, a very symbolic, meaningful thing, symbolism. Now we're going to have a cultural center. I mean, you're going to have from this to that is a magnificent change. The transformation will be magnificent. You will have from a hut to a palace. And that would be given by her. Because this is her house, that will be her house too. But she wants us to enjoy, to learn, to come up, to interact with her, to experience her, to explore her. So we want a comfortable place. She wants us to have a comfort. So you can enjoy it. You don't have to go through. See, in most religions, including Hinduism, the sacrifice part is very important. The word penance, you know what penance is? Suffering. But our tradition, Hindu tradition, is no need. You can have dharma, artha, kama, moksha. You don't have to suffer deliberately. But grow up. That explains everything. Don't be primitive. Don't be children like we are. Raise our level of consciousness, our understanding, and grow up spiritually. Because that is reality. This is temporary shell we use to grow up. Does it make sense? Simplistically, we have to grow up. And that growth comes from her grace. We do need a spiritual place with grace, a temple, church, whatever place where you think of spirit. You don't just think of the body, the matter. You think of the soul. And a temple, like you go to a restaurant, you're programmed to expect to eat. So your enzymes are ready, your digestive system gets ready, something like that. Your mind has to be programmed. When you come to the temple, your mind is programmed. You already are thinking of your spirit, not just the body. To do that, we go through all that Dvajastambham, Balipidam, Simhavahanam, all the symbolism is imprinted in us. And our path is like the spiritual path. The mind is programmed to think of all that. Otherwise, you may not. You may just think of mind, body, intellect, food, and not spirit. Because spirit is something comes after, not